All right, suppose you're given a graph of the derivative, f prime of x, and you're asked to go backwards and sketch f of x. Going backwards is a whole different process than deriving forwards. When you derive from f to f prime, everything's based on slope. But backwards, you really have to rely on all your sign chart information, so it gets a little trickier. So here's my graph of f prime. I want to put f of x over here. I can't really do that until I start doing some work with my sign charts. So the first thing I've started to do here is build a sign chart. This won't be given to you, but you'll see the graph and you'll know that's the first thing I should do. Here's f prime. Let's make a sign chart. So I wrote the sign of f prime of x and the behavior of f of x. Critical numbers occur when the derivative equals 0 or does not exist. So I've got 2 points here, 3 and 7, that are going to work as my critical numbers, 3 and 7. Then you read the chart. My chart says sign of f prime, and this is f prime. So if I pick points before 3, the sign is positive. It's all in the positive. It's based on location. After 3, all the points are still positive. After 7, now they're down in the negative. So if I got positive, positive, negative, I know f of x is increasing, increasing, and decreasing, making 3 a terrace point, where it's nice and flat for a second, and making 7 a maximum, a local max. So right away, now I got some information. I know 3 is a flat spot, and 7 is a max. So on this graph over here, I can go up to 7 and pick any spot I feel like to make it a max, any high point. So like, how about here? And a little bit lower at 3, I know there's a flat spot. So pick any random spot, make a little flat line. That's my terrace point. I'll call it TP. I don't really want to interconnect these points though until I figure out the shape of the curve. That's where the second derivative sign chart comes into play. We're going to do the test of concavity. So I'm going to write the sign of f double prime of x and the behavior of f of x. And then once you set this up, f double prime is not the graph in front of us. F double prime is the next derivative up. So when does f double prime equal 0? Well, when it's flat, right here. So at 5, f double prime equals 0. And down here at 3. So 3 and 5, those are our points. So I'm going to put 3 and 5 on my number line. Then we want to find the sign of f double prime. Well, the sign is based on the slope. Now we're looking one derivative up, so we got negative slope, positive slope, negative slope. Means we got negative, positive, negative. That tells us the graph is concave down, concave up, concave down, making this and this points of inflection. 3 and 5 are points of inflection because the concavity changes. So that's going to help us determine the shape. So what I'm going to do is, now that we have all this messy information, at 3 and 5, I'm going to go to 3 and just put a dotted line. So I don't forget things are going to happen there. And 5, I'm going to do the same thing. Here's 5. My dotted line's not an asymptote, it's just a reminder that something's going on. And we've got concave down, concave up, concave down. So I'm going to write CD, CU, CD so I don't forget. And now my job is to interconnect all these points and make it work. So we're going to start increasing and concave down. So I don't really know where to start exactly, but concave down tells me that the shape looks something like this. So pick a starting point, draw an arrow, anywhere you want really. It's got to increase but be shaped down. Then it continues to increase. It hits the flat spot and it keeps going up, but the shape changes to concave up. Only until you get to the dotted line. Once you get to the dotted line, we switch back to concave down. Then I hit my maximum point, and from my max, I'm going back down to decreasing, but keeping my shape. This is the graph of f of x. I'll draw an arrow on the end there. And that's what you want it to look like. Basically, what you got to remember is that when you're looking at a graph of f prime, and you're trying to go backwards, the sign charts tell you everything. If I was to cover all this up and start you with this graph, and ask you to draw the f prime, then you're using the slope. Totally different scenario. So you got to be careful. You got to read the question and figure out what's your job. Make a sign chart or use the slope. And it can be pretty tricky. That's why we're practicing.